So The Weeknd has finally released his long anticipated and potentially final record, Hurry Up Tomorrow. The Weeknd has been like very 50-50 in terms of marketing this record. It's been a very tumultuous release, to say the least. That actually rhymed well. But yeah, we got a couple of singles off of this sort of rollout era with Timeless, Dancing in the Flames, and Sao Paulo. And the thing is, like, the way that these songs were spaced out between each other, it just felt so chaotic because they basically were released last year and like a couple of months last year, and now the record drops like yesterday because I'm filming this thing February 1st, so January 31st. And this again, this entire cycle in Rella has been just such a weird, just cycle in general because usually like artists would just space out their rollouts in a much more like close manner. Like maybe they will release their record like maybe a month after releasing the singles, or maybe 2 months, and that's kind of stretching it. Or it could be Cardi, which drops a single or a couple of singles and then still doesn't drop the album 2 years after. But yeah, this rollout has been very confusing. But overall, just kind of I want to talk about just like the whole like trilogy thing that the Weeknd has been building up throughout the years. He's obviously experimented with a trilogy back in 2011 with his three very highly and critically acclaimed trilogy series with I think it was Echoes of Silence. I'm sorry, yeah, it was House of Balloons, Thursday, and Echoes of Silence, which are all three great records and really help shape the entire kind of R&B mixtape, dark R&B lane that came out during the 2010s. And he was really just the one who really put that type of atmospherical music on the map. He kind of like allowed artists to kind of be a little bit more experimental when diving into the R&B lane. And The Weeknd again just shaped an entire genre and game just with those three records alone, which again he dropped it all in the span of a year, which is still insane to this day. So fast forward to the 2020s, and he released After Hours, and apparently he was teasing this sort of like start of a trilogy, of a new character he birthed. And it seems that with this new persona that Weeknd was building up with After Hours, starting off this new trilogy with this new persona, he was very personal in terms of, I guess, the effects that drugs had on him, and I think just the whole like want to love somebody but realizing that in the end you're kind of an asshole because you've been using that person for your own personal gain, kind of extorting them of some sort of pleasure-esque thing, which he made it one of the highlights and the main central point of the record, and then followed it up with Dawn FM, kind of seeking this sort of like rebirth, kind of like rehabilitation throughout that record, and kind of highlighting how life kind of just flies by you. It flies by you, and sometimes it's very hard to grasp what's going on. And with this new record, Hurry Up Tomorrow, there seems to be a lot of things that The Weeknd wants to say, not only for this character or persona that he's saying, but overall in general of his entire catalog and music. Because there's so many points throughout this record where he makes references, or you could clearly see that he's drawing some inspiration from his previous works. So coming to this record, I was a bit lost of how it would sound sonically speaking. Because the three singles, as I mentioned, which is Timeless, Dancing in the Flames. Well, actually, Dancing in the Flames isn't in this record. I think he kind of discarded it as like a song for Apple because it was used in Apple ad to, I think, showcase the new phone and how it can like record things in high quality because the music video was shot on the newer iPhone model, which I guess sure. And then Sao Paulo, but I was just lost sonically because it was like, what does he want to go with? Is it one, he's kind of like doing more of a vintage, basic, just vaporwave, synthwave type of nostalgia song, which he kind of reminded me a little bit like Blinding Lights, but sort of an inferior version of Blinding Lights, which of course I'm talking about Dancing with the Flames. And it's not a bad song at all. I thought it was solid. But I could definitely see why it didn't make the final cut because there's so many songs in there. There's much better songs that would have been released as singles in that song. I think a song like Give Me Mercy could have easily been a better single than Dancing with the Flames. It offers the same tributes. It offers the same attributes the song has. Kind of a catchy hook, very simplistic chorus, verse, type of structure, which again, obviously a lot of R&B songs have that's a very typical structure. But what I'm trying to say is like the whole like I think production and vibe of the song is much more simplistic than the other tracks that the album has to offer. And I'm getting ahead of myself since I haven't mentioned the intro yet, but it was an idea that I had in my head because it was like there was again so many songs that kind of fit the bill for a more I guess commercially viable track to promote the album with. And a song like, as I said, Give Me Mercy, or even a song like Drive, or just much more commercially viable songs that I think the Weeknd kind of missed out on just like using it to promote the record. Sure, it still would have been called basic, but I still think those songs are much more layered than Dancing in the Flames. It just feels much more alive and vibrant. So returning to what I was saying with, I guess, the whole conceptual themes that this record has to say, the Weeknd really just sheds a lot of light and just the way that he is feeling personally. The first track, Wake Me Up, featuring Justice, which when I heard the drums in the second part of this track, I was like, is that Justice? Like the drums just sounded like exactly the same thing you would hear on their debut record or on their latest record. Like the whole string patterns and stuff, I was like, that sounds like the track Dance from their debut record. It was like just it blew my mind. But anyway, coming to like I guess the themes of the track would wake me up. This track kind of starts off with him almost like I want to say like literally waking up because it feels bright, it feels light, but at the same time it feels like he's confused. He's trying to kind of like he's wanting, he's desperately wanting time to pass as quickly as possible because he's currently suffering in some sort of pain. It's this chronic pain that it's hard for him to keep on moving. He needs just time to keep on moving. Doesn't want to be stuck in the same place. And I love how the track kind of evolves and switches up with the quicker drums I was mentioning from Justice. Feels much more alive, much more vibrant as him kind of like slowly trying to get out of this mess that he's in. And what makes this track like perfect for me is just the damn transition it has between this and Cry For Me. And Cry For Me, it is like an insane track. It almost has like a Brazilian funk type of vibe that Sao Paulo had with the very loud bass line that it has, the drums, the Weeknd singing over it, kind of like almost hauntingly. It just sounds like very futuristic, almost like cyberpunk-esque. Like I thought that was going through my head was like I really want to listen to this song while play Cyberpunk 2077. It's like one of those songs you play when you're like speeding into the highway or something like that. It's just very energetic, and as the track transfolds, there's much more crazy layers going on. The drums switch up to a bit more quote unquote trap drums. There's like an 808 thrown in there that's just like booming in the mix, and I think the Weeknd really strikes out perfectly in this thing. Like, I feel in the mix he's just perfect. Like there's a great balance between him in the mix, and that's something that Sao Paulo didn't have. And even with this newer album version that Sao Paulo has, because it does connect to the song I Can't Fucking Sing, which I think is supposed to be a reference to him having technical difficulties and I think almost losing his voice while singing in a potential concert. While singing in a concert. And he did express how, I guess, dissatisfied he was with it and how he was embarrassed and frustrated that he almost lost his voice while singing, which again highlights one of the themes of this record, which is like frustration, kind of self-depreciation, and just wanting to just like move on, but at the same time feeling like you're being pulled back at the same time. But going back to Sao Paulo, I thought that even the album version was like, it still doesn't make it a great song, because I feel that in the 5 minutes of this song, there isn't enough movement, if I'm trying to say. Like the beat within itself, it's good, it's decent, but I just think the Weeknd, he's not suited for this beat. It's not. I don't think it's the vibe for him. I know it's ironic because Cry For Me has similar Brazilian funk vibes, but I think in that song it was handled much more tastefully, and it had an actual progression going on. With this song, I feel that it just keeps on repeating and looping itself, and it keeps on driving itself to the same position over and over and over, and the Weeknd just feels off, like just a bit awkwardly placed into the mix, making it a very awkward song to kind of sit through. Then after that, we have Until We're Skin and Bones, kind of transitioning to the next song called Baptized in Fear. The Weeknd used, I think, at least 2 songs in here to kind of like, I guess, have a better and nicer transition. I think, yeah, Opening Night is also a song that is sort of a transition piece, a transition song. And I thought that was a little bit strange because, and I know he used this thing in Dawn FM, And some songs I thought were like, you don't need to waste an entire song space for this, while some of them really did transition very well. But I was like kind of thinking as to why he was doing this, because there's just some moments, especially which is in the first half. Later on, the second half, I know that there's no more of the transition songs, but I felt that it was kind of a strange, just waste of space sometimes. Easily, some of these transitions don't do that much, and there were so many moments where these fuller, like 4 or 5 minute songs have a much better transition than those transition songs that I was mentioning about. Like the track "Baptized in Fear," as I was mentioning, has a very smooth transition to the track "Opening Open Hearts." It's just a very nice and breezy transition. Like you don't even notice it. I remember like there was like I listened to like this like transition thing a couple of times, and I still didn't even notice where the transition was. Like I was listening to it just normally, and then we were driving, and then normally again, and it was just that smooth and effortlessly that I was like, I thought it was like one long song. And I think that transition was just so damn perfect. In the track, "Baptized in Fear," him speaking about, obviously he's in fear and in pain, but it just speaks a lot of the character that he has been kind of going around, this persona he's been establishing throughout this trilogy. Him being very paranoid, being very, very uncertain about his decisions, and as it says, baptized, in fear, just very just insecure of his entire surroundings. Just the people he can trust, and just a bunch of elements, especially like love and romance, that is obviously carried on later in this record. I think a track like "Red Terror" Without a Warning are these insanely just quality level of like audio mixing and mastering. I know Mike Dean was behind the production of this record. I think Metro Boomin and a bunch of other producers as well. But it's like super richly mixed. Like it is like some grand level of like stereoized type of mastering put into the record, and I think that was mind blowing. It is like an insane detail just goes in, and I think those tracks in general, well, lyrically speaking, they don't move me that much. I just think again, like just the soundscapes, the environment, everything that's put into the record production wise is just like incredible, and it really just sets a statement as to like how much time and money the Weeknd invested for this project, because the entire project in general, not just those two tracks, I'm using an example, sounds like $100 million project. It sounds like a blockbuster film that you would see in a movie. Another example will be "Big Sleep" featuring Giorgio Moroder, which I can't believe he's on this record. It was like I remember seeing this thing on Twitter, but I was like, there's no way he is. And then listening to the track again, "Big Sleep," it was like, yeah, no, I believe this. It is like that guy is like the goat. I mean, like I think one of the first times I heard of him was in a Daft Punk record. I think a lot of people were introduced to him in that record, which he was kind of explaining just like the progression of the track and stuff, and it was a masterpiece. But I'm getting ahead of myself. It just shows that the Weeknd did his homework, and he wanted the people who are at top of his game to produce these type of soundscapes and these type of environments that he wanted to produce. Since he's going to a very vintage, electronic synthwave type of vibe throughout this entire trilogy. One of the best moments that this record has are just like the moments where it's just banger after banger after banger after banger. Not just conceptually like what the Weeknd is saying, but it's like those songs that are like produced and made specifically for like the moment where you just want to bang your song without thinking too much. Like we have a track like Reflections Laughing featuring Travis Scott and Florence and the Machine, and while that one does have more of a heavier conceptual like tie into it, especially with how spacious it is, this guitar playing in the middle, Travis Scott's pitched down vocals, Florence and the Machine, like just the lead vocalist, I think it's one person, but just like the way it's soaring through the mix and kind of being psychedelic and emotional, I think it just makes a huge statement. It's like almost like you're being trapped and sucked into this time loop, and it's like these very like kind of pastel colors. I'm being very descriptive right now. It sounds like I'm tripping, but it just feels it gives you like that almost like end of the world vibe, but it's at the same time it's like relaxed and calm. It's almost like one of those apocalyptic just like movies and stuff, and I was associating with it like just with the color scheme and just the facial expression that Weeknd has on the record, like that like cover, comparing it to the previous cover that it was originally for pressing. It's like a night and day difference because in this one it almost looks like he's trapped in like this kind of almost like vortex where it's like he's not clear of what the hell is going on in terms of time. That's just how I feel. It's almost like a time loop that's going on. It's sort of like you're being sucked in, bro. Pause on that one. But yeah, it gave me that vibe, and I think that Travis Scott verse is one of the best verses that he's had on a long time. It just performance wise, and it's another level. In a track like "Enjoy the Show" featuring Future, if you would have seen my reaction, it's just like I was mind blown. The Weeknd singing in a soul sample, which he has done in a couple of records ago. I know that he has done something. I think like can't like don't tell your friends. I think or yeah, I think don't tell your friends. Tell your friend. No, tell your friends about it. Yeah, that was a song. But this song with Future, it was like just glorious to me because they both have great chemistry. And I remember that when We Don't Trust You, there was much more R&B cuts thrown into the mix. I'm always a huge fan of that record. There was great chemistry between The Weeknd and The Future when they were singing. I think performance-wise, they were just incredible. And in this track in particular, they're on a whole new level. And I really like what The Weeknd's kind of combining here, kind of like just enjoy the moment, enjoy the show. Don't take anything for granted. Don't be sad that it's over. Just enjoy what's going on right now. Enjoy the experiences, just what's going on. Just celebrate what's going on now. Just don't be depressed at what's going to happen later. Which, in a way, it's kind of like him just kind of saying like indirectly. Well, it is directly, but with outside the context of the song, kind of like saying like after I'm done with this whole Weekend persona, like just don't be sad it's over. Be happy that it happened. Type of I guess interaction he's having with his fans. The track "Giving Up on Me," which samples another soul sample. There's like another soul sample even after this in the track "I Can't Wait to Get There." But coming back to the previous track, what I love about this track is just the entire switch up it has. Like it just kind of like starts off like switching up, and then later on it kind of picks up its pace, and then at the end there's like this very ambient, very alone, like just like he's like almost like seeking solace type of like ground area where he's alone with the piano. He's singing this very like almost like disturbed voice, alone in a way. It reminded me a lot of House of Balloons, or even Echoes of Silence in the self-titled track, where it's just a whole piano. There's nothing but just a piano and just him singing. There's no other instrument involved, I think, and it's very reverby and just very one-on-one. It gave me the same vibes, even though this one is a bit more, I guess, loose and almost like you're almost in like an elevator type. It almost sounds like an elevator music, but like depressing elevator music in a way. But honestly, I really enjoyed this song and just the vibes that I was giving. It was almost like a callback to those one-on-one intimate songs that The Weeknd used to have in his mixtape era. The track "I Can't Wait to Get There," it was just like he is talking his shit. I love when The Weeknd kind of goes from singing to rapping to kind of rap singing at the same time. Then the sample selection was just perfect. There are moments in here where I thought Alchemist was on the production. This track, I was like, Alchemist is definitely in the production. He's probably isn't, but I know that Metro Boomin is, if I'm not mistaken. It just shows just how versatile The Weeknd is, and he really understood the assignment, by previously giving Future that sort of soul beat, sample type beat, and I think just this sample in particular in this track, it just gives The Weeknd so much space and so much room to work with. I think the background vocals in the sample add so much layer and depth to what The Weeknd wants to say and how he wants to perform, and it builds this very rich and almost glossy-esque atmosphere. Really like how The Weeknd kind of like just did the whole track list for this record, because looking at it right now, it's just kind of incredible. Like the track "Niagara Falls" and "Timeless" and "Taking Back to LA" is an incredible three-track run, and it really makes sense between each other. I think "I Can't Wait to Get There" kind of transitions to "Timeless." Then "Timeless," well, it doesn't have a particular transition. It is more like one of those like bop type of songs that he has, one of those bangers. Like where it's like the beat slaps a lot, and there's like this 808 usage, kind of trap drums involved. There was a great Cardi verse too. But to Niagara Falls, which is almost the same. Well, it's not the same thing, but it's more of like the pattern of it being a banger and it not necessarily having some huge conceptual message. Kind of The Weeknd going back to embodying that 2015 Beauty Behind the Madness. Weeknd uh, singing over this very like loud, distorted beat with this 808 that is just knocking the speakers out. And he is just doing his shit. He's doing his performance. He's just living the moments, and that's what I really love about it. And it reminds me of the track "Often," or some other track like "The Hills," and when she's singing or those type of instrumentals. I don't know, it just gave me that type of vibe, and just it's just like one of those songs that I will definitely have on repeat for like late night stuff when I'm doing it. It just gives you like these very like dark and nocturnal vibes in general. The track "Take Me Back to LA," obviously referencing the track "Escape from LA" from After Hours. It's pretty like nice and cool to kind of see like just the journey and and how far this persona has kind of like upgraded and just like descended into entirely different territory. Kind of beginning saying that everything to him was a mess, everything is destructive, nothing is safe for him, to then kind of saying, I want to go back to that place. I kind of see that place with more lights and glimmer. I don't see it as a hostile territory that I used to see it in the beginning. Kind of seeing that like upgrade of that like arc that he has been going through throughout the records. And this song is without a doubt one of the better synthwave slash pop type of songs that we have from this Weeknd persona, from this new Weeknd persona, because not everything in this like 3 album run is just synthwave or pop. There's obviously some deviations going on, but it's like sticking to that specific like type of genre. I think is one of like the better produced pop tracks that he has ever released. Like without a doubt, the vocals are on point. The beat in general, it just reminds me so much of Blinding Lights, or one of the better cuts from that particular type of style that he's gone through. The track "The Abyss" featuring Lana Del Rey, it literally is what the track says. It feels like a literal abyss or like a pit or just somewhere deep, 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 deep. It's like where there's like no sort of like light almost. I don't want to be very descriptive again, but yeah, it's just like the way this track just goes and flows throughout is insane. Kind of the Weeknd where he's going like he's saying he's going through the speed of light, and just the entire track literally like the melody almost like accelerating to like the speed of light, to then passing it over to Lana Del Rey and her singing, kind of like rapping, her vocals wrapping around the track. The mixing and mastering is perfect and beautiful. I don't know, I think it offers just so much dynamic thrown into this track, and it just shows the experience that the Weeknd wanted to give in this particular song, providing this almost like visual, like this visual key aesthetic that he would always promote in his lyrics throughout the albums in this particular cycle. And the final track, "Hurry Up Tomorrow," I think is one of the most sentimental pieces. And the track "Hurry Up Tomorrow" is one of the most sentimental songs that he's ever released in his catalog. Him calling out for help, almost like reaching out to heaven, trying to get away from the madness, and almost like kind of like finding peace within himself, getting emotional, kind of speaking about his mom and his dad. I think he's kind of like phrasing like his dad passed away. I might be mistaken, but it's basically him trying to seek just gratitude and trying to confess his sins, asking himself if he can have a second chance, kind of hoping that he can have a second chance to be a rebirth or just to officially pass away with this character and move on to the next thing, because he wants to cleanse himself from the sins and things that this character has gone throughout the years or throughout the decades, because I think he's trying to imply the whole Weeknd character in general, not just this persona of this trilogy, but I think just the bad mistakes and sins that he's gone through as a character and as a person, individual as well. Again, just asking redemption, asking solace for all the things that he's committed. And I love that this track is much more slower pace. There's nothing like a crazy evolution. It's a bit more quote unquote boring or stale comparison and production wise comparison to other tracks. But at the same time, I think it's perfect because it is what the Weeknd needs to convey his message. It doesn't need to be some crazy sort of like like insane otherworldly production to carry on his message. He wants it to be simplistic, one-on-one, kind of calm, so he can get his message across. Did it hear that this track in particular, if you were to kind of crossfade this track with high for this, it transitions perfectly, kind of implying that it's like almost like a loop or a cycle or like the official end of this entire persona, or just a Weeknd in general, kind of confirming that thing, which I thought was very interesting and cool. But yeah, I still can't believe the Weeknd, this is going to be the final record of the Weeknd. It technically feels like this is the final record, especially with the lyrics, as I said, stating that it's like the end, or he wants to get rid of this thing already. He kind of feels stressed out and paranoid. He wants to move on to the next thing that's much more positive, for his personal health, and for his own benefit, and just kind of put this thing all behind the past. Regarding that, it's just what an insane career. There's almost 40 hits, like 40 songs over a billion streams on Spotify, if I'm not mistaken. This guy broke hit after hit after hit after hit, and I would definitely say that he was, because now past tense, he's probably going to abandon his persona, the best, probably pop slash R&B artist that we've had in this generation in a very long time, and I really don't think there's going to be another artist like him for at least a long time. For at least, I'm talking about like a long, long, long time, because this is really a type of like career in general, like a career that just spans for like decades, you know, for like generations type. It's incredible. It's generally just incredible, just kind of seeing this thing end, and this record in general is just incredible. It really is. It's great. It's great. I really love this thing. I'm digging it. On a more serious note, what would I give this record? I'm probably gonna give this record an 8 to an 8.5 out of 10. I know I barely said any flaws throughout this record, but there are some particular moments where I think just the songs are okay. But for the most part, this is one gargantuan, because it's an hour and a half record that just really takes you into one last journey. It is like one last adventure, and I think sonically and musically, this was like the adventure that Weeknd had to finish off its entire legacy off. And I think it's just a perfect way to finish it off. Like, that is one hell of a conclusion. And I cannot wait to what he has in store, since he does want to sing under his real name, under like Abel, I believe. So let's see what he has in store. But for the Weeknd character, you may rest in peace, and thank you for the great music you have given us throughout the years. But yeah, did you guys enjoy this record? Did you guys hate it? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this review, please leave a like, subscribe, turn notification bell on so you miss an upload from me, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out, and stream Hurry Up Tomorrow.